Okay, our directions told us to solve this equation. It's a quadratic, it's a second degree quadratic equation, so I'm going to use the quadratic formula. Remember that this is on your Algebra 1 formula sheet. The first thing I need to do is to go ahead and put this in standard form. So I need to put everything, all the terms on one side and set it equal to 0. So to do that, I just need to move the negative 10. If I add 10 to both sides of the equal sign, I'm going to add it to the constant term here. That gives me 0 here. So I get 2m squared minus 7m minus 3 equals 0. Okay, now that it's in standard form, I'm ready to go ahead and identify my variables for this formula. Remember, the leading coefficient here is a. The coefficient of the regular linear term there is b, and your constant term is c. So I've got a equals 2, b equals negative 7, and c equals negative 3. Okay, all I'm doing is substituting into this formula. I'm going to do it by hand, and I'm going to do it by the calculator. It's easy to make a mistake in either one of those places, so if I do both, I make sure they're the same. If they're not the same, hopefully I can find my mistake. Okay, so x equals, my solutions are going to equal the opposite of b. Now, b is negative 7, so what happens is this will become positive 7. Plus or minus, that means I'm going to have two solutions, or up to two solutions, depending on the value of my discriminant. Square root b squared. Now again, b is negative, but I'm going to square it. Anything I square ends up being positive. Minus 4 times a is 2 times c is negative 3. Okay, all over 2 times a. 2 times a is 2. Okay, so quadratic formula, like I said, there's a lot of places to make mistakes. So we're going to go ahead and do it by hand, and then we'll make sure to check with the calculator. So my solutions are, or actually in this case, it's m. My variable was m. Okay, the opposite of negative 7 is positive 7. Then I've got plus or minus. Negative 7 squared is 49. Minus, this all gets multiplied together. So actually, I'm going to treat this as negative. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative times a negative actually is going to make that positive. 8 times 3 is 24. All over 2 times 2 is 4. So I'm going to get 7 plus or minus 4, 5, 6, 73, square root of 73, all over 4. Okay. So I'm actually going to do this 2 times. My first solution is going to be with the plus. So I'm just going to break it up this way. Okay, so 7 plus the square root of 73 over 4, and 7 minus the square root of 73 over 4. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my calculator. 7 plus the square root of 73, and since I didn't use parentheses, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter and then take that and divide by 4. My directions actually don't tell me, but let's go ahead and estimate to the nearest tenth. So that would be the first decimal place. So if I'm estimating to the first decimal place, I look to the second one. It's an 8, so that's going to go up to a 9, 3.9. Not sure you can see that. I'll write it again down here. Okay, and then let me do the other one. I'm going to go up top here, hit enter again, change this to a minus, and then divide that by 4. And if I estimate to the nearest tenth, I look to the next decimal. 8 moves that up to a 4, negative 0.4. Okay, so again, I'm not sure if you can see that. Let me move this whole thing up. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put it up here because I'm about to put this in the calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and write these solutions up here. I got the solution set. I'm going to write it as a solution set. 3.9 and negative 0.4. Okay, so I'm sure that you can see. Alright, now what I'm going to do is actually use my store key. So I'm going to go up to this formula, and this is the quadratic formula. That's, you know, assuming your variable is x. Remember, our variable is m. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually store, and then remember, when you enter a fraction on a calculator, you have to insert parentheses around the numerator and parentheses around the denominator. Make sure that you push the arrow to get out of the radical. Okay, so let's do this whole thing on the calculator now, and hopefully we'll get the same answers. Alright, I'm going to store A, 2 into A, 2 store into A. Let's see if I can get this under the light a little better. And negative 7 was it for B. And negative 3 store into C. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and just enter the quadratic formula, just like I see it. The only thing I have to make sure I do is put those parentheses in. Put around the numerator, the opposite of B. First I'm going to do plus square root of B squared minus 4AC. Get out of my radical, close my parentheses. So that parentheses around the numerator, everything on top. And then divided by, and I need parentheses around my denominator, 2A. Parentheses. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and push enter. And yay, we did. We got the same thing here. So that was the first one when we added them. We estimated to the nearest tenth, so the 8 pushed that up to a 9. Alright, now I'm going to go, if I go on top of my last entry and I push enter, it makes it pop up again. So now I'm going to change, in the beginning of the formula here, I'm going to change this to a minus and enter. And I got the same answer. Okay, so I feel pretty good about this. Now, if I really want to make sure that this is correct, and of course if I'm doing a really important test, I always want to do this, I'm going to go ahead and store these values in for m. You know what? I'm going to use x because it's faster on the calculator. I'm going to store them. I'm going to do both of them, check both of them. Now remember, I estimated, I rounded. So when I put it in and enter this, I will not get exactly negative 10, but I should get very, very close. So I'm going to check right now is what I'm doing. So I'm going to start with the 3.9, and I'm going to store it into, I said I was going to use x, but to not confuse you, I'm going to use m. Okay, so I'm putting 3.9, one of my solutions, the first one. And I always want to go back to the original equation. Don't go to this one, because if you made a mistake from here to here, you will not catch it. So let's go to the original equation. We're going to put in the left side. Hopefully we get negative 10, or close to negative 10. So 2m squared minus 7m minus 13. And it's pretty close to negative 10. Okay, again, it's a little bit off because, you can see better, it's a little bit off because I estimated. 3.9 was an estimation. If I did more decimal points, I'd be closer. Okay, so now I'm going to do negative 0.4, store into m, enter. Again, I can go on top of this and then push enter so it pulls it up again. Okay, because I'm entering the same equation again, and I hope to get negative 10. So if we enter, yeah, very close to negative 10. So I feel very good about my solutions.